So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Build to Millions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all the way to help MVPs. My name is Brett Swarts. Each and every episode, we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, or billionaires, and they share their secrets, insights, and wisdom with us so we can all level up and make a bigger impact. I'm excited about our next guest. He's a copywriter, entrepreneur, and AI pioneer whose work has been quietly shaped how the world buys things online. He's best known as the inventor of the video sales letter, the format that became the backbone of modern digital marketing. He spent decades writing words that move people to act, not through manipulation, but through what he calls persuasion that feels good on both sides. In 2010, he turned his attention to copywriting software and becoming one of the earliest pioneers at the intersection of AI and sales copy, and so much more. We're going to be talking about today. Please welcome to the show with me, Mr. John Benson. John, how are you doing?
Hey, Brett. How are you? Doing great, man.
I'm fantastic. Thank you for meeting today on Memorial Day. And for our listeners out there getting to know you for the first time, maybe could you give us a little bit more color on who you are and what you're doing these days?
Yeah, so I got started in 2004. I owned an ad agency at the time in Dallas. I was a graphic designer and a musician, and that's basically what I did for 15 years almost. And I wrote a book, and I teamed up with a guy that was an internet marketer. I had no idea what the word copywriter even meant. I thought it was like something the government did. You know, they put the little C at the end of something. I had no idea what it was. So I never set out to be a copywriter. And next thing you know, I have a book that's selling. I quit my day job, I'll put it that way, and then wrote the second one and had to write my copy myself because I didn't have the partner. And I found out really quickly that's very hard to do. So I dove into it and never was very good at it for the first year. And then I stumbled on a way to do it with how my brain kind of responded, which was a video sales letter. It was essentially like, I thought to myself, like, people aren't reading sales pages. They're reading like maybe 8% if you're lucky. They'll read the headline, subheadline, they'll skim, they'll go down to the price. They're not sold by the time they get to the price. So I was trying to solve that problem. And at the same time, I wasn't a good writer at the time. So I figured, well, what if I just wrote one block at a time? What if there's a way they could just look at one section of a sales letter at a time? And that became the impetus for the first video sales letter. And I did the first one, and then it just took off after that. Everybody wanted one, and next thing I know, I'm a copywriter, and that was not what I planned to be, but ended up being a pretty good one. So it all worked out well.
You know, I believe we all been given certain, gifts and talents, and God's given us these things to be a unique work in this life. I'm curious, growing up, the musical background, the creativity, and then you see all these things kind of come together, and then you naturally work through this yourself. And I believe you're also best positioned to serve the person you once were. Talk about your unique gift, creative music, and all of this kind of coming together where you're at today.
Yeah, one thing we've noticed a lot in the copywriting space is musicians tend to be, a lot of musicians are copywriters and vice versa. And Anthropic released a survey or a poll or something and looked at who spoke to the machines better than other people. And turns found out that my degree in philosophy was not just deep thoughts of unemployment. It seems like It actually paid off in the end. So people that studied philosophy and people that studied logic and people who were artists and creators, so like musicians and things of that nature. So maybe that's the natural intersection of how we ended up talking to AI more effectively. But and I'm not really sure if that's the case necessarily, or if it's just dumb luck. But whatever it is, it worked. And yeah, I find music and copy go together incredibly well. I teach a course called Copy Theory. So, as in music theory, it's the same thing. There's a theory of copy, like there's a theory of music. And I talk about rhythm, I talk about pace, I talk about tone, all the things that you would think about in music. I've kind of broken down into how we think about words. Words are very rhythmical. Words should be very rhythmical, which is why most AIs don't do it very well. They don't understand the human rhythm.
Let's just talk about that. Talk about your tool, number one tool that you're using to help and have helped many entrepreneurs and been featured on Wired, Forbes, Fast Company, Maxim, all these major outlets. How are you helping entrepreneurs and business owners, really get their voice and be able to reach more people and make a bigger impact?
Well, it started with in 2010. I wanted to figure out how to take video sales letters, a format that's very difficult to teach, and take what I was teaching for years on how to do it and teach people who are not copywriters. That so we've got a lot of hurdles to overcome there. So I thought, well, what if we could build software around it? And so we released the very first copywriting software back in 2010 for direct response, and that was called Accelerator, dumb name, but it did sell like over $1 billion of copy. It didn't sell itself $1 billion, but we had over $1 billion come through the machine, which was pretty cool. So that was the start of it. But I had to figure out how to break apart language and code it in a way that could be universal. And that became some of the early training stuff for the LLMs, the large language models like OpenAI and so forth. But so I was one of the first copywriters in to be featured in, like, for example, Jasper, which used to be called Jarvis back then, and this is early ChatGPT days, and they wanted to train. They asked me, said, "Hey, could we put your VSL inside of Jasper, your formula?" And I knew they couldn't do it. So I said, yeah, sure, knock yourself out. Let's do it. Let's do it together. And they ended up getting 30, I think 60 seconds worth back then in there, because it's way too nuanced and complicated to do. And so I decided I would build a machine that could do it, an AI that could do it. And we spent 2 years, the last 3 years doing that. And that's called Benson. My last name without the vowels, BNSN.ai. And so that's more of a humanized version of AI, is what we call it, because I take kind of a weird approach when it comes down to persuasion. Ethical persuasion is very different than just full on persuasion. You can use all sorts of nefarious techniques when you persuade somebody to do something, but I believe in something very deeply called ethical persuasion. So in other words, all I'm doing is tapping into what your values already are. I'm not asking you to change your values. I'm asking you to honor your values. And so I'm doing that obviously in very subtle ways through words. And training an AI to do that is very difficult. So that's what we spent the last 3 years doing, training this AI to not only replicate direct response copy, which is hard enough, but also to do it with your values laced on top of it, which we just released about 4 months ago, which is really cool. So now we have a way to do it with your values laced on top of it. So basically what that means is your values get incorporated into the copy in usually subtle ways, very subtle. We're not like, if somebody values freedom and love, it's not every other word. It's like, so if you value freedom and love, you're going to love this offer. That's a little too, ham-fisted. So we wanted to be very subtle with it. What phrases would they use? What inflections would they use? What would they never say, right? How would they never describe something? And teaching an AI that is very difficult. So, but that's what we did, and it's really pretty cool. It's a way for you to also get more of your ideal buyers, because when people read words that come from your values and they already resonate with those values, those are going to be your ideal buyers. I mean, I don't know about you, Brett, but I don't want people in my ecosystem that are completely off the ranch. That's just not who I'm looking for. I'm not looking for tire kickers. I'm not looking for people who are just completely diametrically opposed to me in everything I value. I'm not that those can't be nice people, but they would be very difficult to please. So I want the people who are going to be raving fans, who are going to pass my name around, that are going to kind of feel an instant connection, and that way when they read the copy, they're like, that guy sounds like a guy I'd like to have dinner with. That guy, I can relate to what they're saying, and they might not know exactly why they can relate to it, but I think the words do the heavy lifting there.
Excellent. We're speaking with Mr. John Benson, everybody. You can learn more by going to benson.ai, benson.ai, and or ucloned.ai, which we'll be talking about here in a minute or so. Yeah. So talk about the power of speaking to the one, right? And versus speaking to the masses, right? And if you're on stage and you're giving a presentation or even just podcast, right? You know, the mindset and the practice of becoming a master communicator, which you are, how do you best speak to the one versus the masses? You know what the worst thing to do is when you're selling a business? Paying huge capital gains taxes. In fact, they're about 20 to 50% of the sale. And if your client is selling, whether you're a business broker, M&A advisor, financial advisor, they have a large capital gains tax problem. And guess what? We have a solution. We build capital gains tax solutions for sellers of highly appreciated assets, including real estate, including businesses and other assets. And we want to encourage you to take action today to learn about what solutions are available. So think about a business, think about real estate, think about other assets that have at least $1 million net proceeds and $1 million gain, and the sale is going to result in 20 to 50% in tax. So what can you do? Well, you can build a capital gains tax solution with our team. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com or click on the link below to get started.
So that was an exercise that I've taught people for, I guess, 20 years now almost. And that's, I take a picture of what I think my avatar would be. And it's just one picture. Now, you might be selling to men and women, you might be selling to people at different ages, but I narrow it down to one person. And then I will put a picture of that person on my monitor when I'm typing. So I will read every sentence. And if it doesn't sound like that person feels like I wrote it to them, then something is wrong. And so that is a very strict way of doing it, but that's how I think through it. And that's how we trained Benson to write, very much in that it feels like it's written to you personally and without being sappy. And that's the thing, there's a fine line between being personal and being sappy. Now, Facebook, it's now Meta, went out of their way to make that difficult for copywriters. They basically outlawed the word "you" in a lot of copy. So, when you say "now you can" rather than now you have to say "now we can," it's a little silly, but nonetheless, it still has a personal feel to it. Even the word "we" has a much more personal feel to now people everywhere are, right? So that you can just feel the disconnection there, right? And AI will write that all the time. Even like my personal clone, which his name is Isaac. Isaac will write this not all. He's a great copywriter because I've trained him on everything, right? But he still defaults to the native training that all AIs do, and will occasionally write, people everywhere are, and things of that nature that makes it sound less personal than things that you would say to a friend. Like you would, if you were talking to a friend about like, hey, I found this weight loss supplement that's amazing. I feel this way, and I gave it to my mom, and she's feeling this way. And I know you mentioned that you wanted to maybe get lean for the summer, so I thought you might want to try this out. At no point in that conversation would you probably ever say, people everywhere are raving. So, the moment I say that, it sounds like, what on earth are you talking about? It's like, so you would say something like, man, I gave this to, Jim, right? I gave it to Jim. And so obviously you can't say that to a person you don't know, but you can say, this is what we did. I tested on my, and if it's true, of course, I tested on myself, and then I gave it to my wife, and she loved it. And then we went ahead and said, okay, we're gonna get 5 of our friends, and they took it. And so it sounds like I'm telling a story, right? That's the you connection. That's super important to have that. It sounds still like I'm talking to one person. If I start going into, so-and-so company is founded on the principles of, then no one cares. Absolutely no one gives a rat's what about it. They don't care. They do not care. They care about what is in this for them. So that's what you have to continually focus on. And it's just not about you. It's about them. And in a way, it's kind of interesting to service your listeners. It is a very selfless endeavor to write really good copy. You have to get outside of yourself.
It's beautiful. And I think about the moment when someone's on the stage and they call someone on the audience, right? I've been at a Tony Robbins event, right? And he'll call out, or, hey, someone raised their hand, and now he's speaking to that one person, right? And the audience just fixates on what's happening there. And he's really serving them at a deep level, and he's getting to know them, and he's incorporating it. And I just go, that the power of having that clear picture of the person you're serving, right? You feel called to serve, and making that intimate connection some way is the creativity that is so simple to like hear this, we get it, but it's so much harder to implement it, right? We get stuck in our own ways. And so I love this the Benson.ai and what what it can do. Talk about the next step in this process. So someone says, yes, I know I need and want this. What's the other secret to implementing these types of things in either everyday emails or everyday, VSL letters or email copy? Walk us through the nuance there within the AI software that you have.
So Benson writes all copy needed to promote and sell and market your business. So that ranges from VSLs to emails to ads to everything. Obviously, it pulls from large language models, but what makes it a little bit unique is that we're not pulling from one. We're not a lot of apps that came out in the last 2 or 3 years are basically just window dressings for Chat GPT, which is a terrible writer. We never use it for writing. It's like, so that's not what we do. We say, okay, VSL, for example, might have 12 parts to it. And we'll say, well, the lead really needs to go to Anthropic, but it needs to go to this model because this other model doesn't write as good as this model. And then it needs to filter its editor through this other LLM over here, Gemini. So we will do this crazy stuff in the background that you never see. All you say is, I want a VSL. Here's the stuff about my product. Go. And next thing you know, you start getting a long form VSL or a short form VSL for ads and things like that. But without that kind of engine in the background, there was just no way to make it sound good. It sounded like chat copy. That sounded Chat GPT-ish, which to a non-copywriter may look, wow, I just got an email out. But I can tell you that if you go to Chat GPT right now and say, write me an email to promote dog training product that I have, it's probably going to start off with 3 questions. And they're rhetorical. It's like if I was to teach someone how to write copy, the first thing I would never say in a million years is, okay, what you want to do is always write rhetorical questions because people love that. Like, I'm sure that, Brett, you love, like, if I asked you, hey, Brett, are you ready to make more money today? Nah, man, I'm totally happy being broke. I totally dig it. I totally dig being broke. Are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired? No, man, I freaking love it. I just love waking up sick every morning. No one says this, right? But AI just goes into this ridiculous question and answer thing, and that's because it's trained on the worst copy in the world. That all the LLMs in the world are trained on the internet. So picture this. Do you have kids, Brent?
I have 5, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. 5 kids. Okay. Would you tell, like, if you had, is any of your children old enough to hunt or to fish?
Yeah, my eldest is almost 16. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if you want to teach your eldest how to hunt or how to fish, let's say how to fish, would you say, I tell you what, I'm going to show you how to fish. What I want you to do first is go read the entire internet, everything there is to know about fishing, and then we'll come back tomorrow and then we'll talk about fishing. How much of it would be really bad information about fishing?
Probably 95% of it.
Right. The same thing. It's the same thing with copywriting, only it's worse because fishing at least has, there's like, people have different ideas for it for sure. I'm sure I don't do a lot of it, but there's generally a way to do it, right? Copy is not, copy is an art and a science and a nuance and all this. So imagine learning copy from an abstract form, like reading Reddit posts or reading sales pages that are written by other AI. It's not a good way to learn. So we had to back it up and train it only on copy that's really, really, really good and say, this is your limited pool of knowledge, right? And then train it on principles behind that copy. So if you have to go outside your pool of knowledge, at least you do it in a constrained way. But we couldn't do that with just going to one LLM. It just doesn't work that way. So that's the technical reason why this works. But for the customer, they come in and they say, I want to, I need an ad or I need a sales page for my website. So they could write the sales page for their website and say, and then just type into Benson and say, now create an email campaign so I can promote this. What do you suggest for ads, and onward and so forth. And then we have a step beyond that, which is what I was talking about with the ucloned environment.
Yeah,
which
let's
is
go
where,
into that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
yeah, well, that's
uclone.ai with a D at the end. YOUCLONED.ai. Go ahead.
Yeah, uclone.ai. So, and what you get there is free. It's a crazy thing that we AI guys have really kind of taken hold of. And again, there's a lot of marketers out there, and I get it. I totally get it. I have a friend of mine. If I said his name, you would know immediately who he is. very famous, very famous marketer that jumped on the copywriting bandwagon with AI and you could fill a thimble with what he knows about AI, but he's a great marketer. We've been doing this since 2010 for crying out loud. We've been building AI since 2017. It's a crazy long time ago, right? So in the AI world, that's like dinosaurs. So we've kind of been around the block and know what works and what doesn't work. And then there's the guys that really do know this stuff, the Rich Sheffer and Mike Vilsain, myself. I mean, we really are marketers that really use this every single day. But what I kind of got fascinated by was the ability to clone myself. Like I don't know about you, I've said more times than I can count, and to all love and respect to our staff, man, I wish I had 10 of me. I wish because I have more passion for the business. My wife has more passion for the business than anyone that will ever work for us. And we have a great team that we have people that are really close to our passion for the business, which is amazing. Okay. But no one has it like we do because we own it. So what if I could, and also you have an innate talent that other people, the reason you're a CEO is because you have certain gifts that other people might not have. If you could clone yourself, but make yourself the same driven self that you are here, but in design, and the same driven self you are here, but in accounting or in implementation, which is my biggest weakness, implementation. I can create all day long implementing. I wrote products. Brett, this is embarrassing. Many people have you ever bought a product you never used?
Yeah.
Right? I've challenged everyone this. Have you ever created a product, start to finish, and never sold it?
Probably.
I've got six. Six I've never sold. They're all online as of yesterday. So because my clone was able it's just a time thing. It's like, okay, I know how to write, obviously VSLs. I know how to, but it's like to build the pages and the ads and the email sequences. Oh, it's just crazy. So I got into this concept of like, well, I don't want to use AI for what a lot of people are using it for. I want to take what Benson is writing and then create the entire thing. The sales pages appear, the Stripe checkouts get done, the emails get done. It talks to my email client. It creates a CRM for us. It does every single thing in the world that we need done to turn and sell these things rather than just putting pretty words online. And that's what you cloned. That's how I got birthed. And so I got birthed by saying I made a offhand comment one day, say like, yeah, basically I just said I wanted 10 of me and I got it. So that's basically what it is. And so being able to take you and replicate what you know, but also put it on a 24/7, 365 processing speed of, an infinitely time faster than you, still makes mistakes, still hallucinates, still does things that frustrate you at times for sure, but is by far and away the cheapest employee you will ever have. So I mean,
I
like,
love it.
it's not even
I just
close.
went there already. Uclone.ai. I just put my email in. I'm going to check it out. I didn't know about this until I got on with John. In fact, I'm grateful for this opportunity. So that makes a lot of sense. Is Uclone.ai going to help you then take that prompt or that information and or put it into something like a cloud or is it the actual AI system behind it? Land that plane for us on that one.
Yeah. So what we do is we tie together Benson, the copywriting app, with Claude Code or with, if you want, Codex, either one. That's if you don't know what I'm talking about there, don't worry. If it's Greek to you, I'm not an engineer. I happen to be pretty good with AIs and things of that nature, but I'm by far not a coder. So when you first see this stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, it looks so codey, right? Well, I wanted to do is say, well, can we strip it down and make it simple? Make it a one-click install. So you basically just copy a line of code and it just installs on your computer, and it finds the apps that we're using right now, and most of them are free. And the ones that are not, Benson obviously isn't free. Claude, you're going to pay. Most people will do fine with a $20 a month account. I have the $200 a month account because I'm running multiple businesses. But so if you have if you have a lot of businesses, obviously you're going to need more account, but more speed. But even with that, I mean, I have two $200 a month accounts, and I run one on Slack for my team, and then one run on here. Well, I take it back. One of them's 100, and one of them's 200. So it's $300 a month in AI bills. And I do the work of easily 10 people. Easily. It's not even, I mean, it's if you saw what this system is able to do, it would just blow your mind. So we can start a day. I can start yesterday, for example. I started yesterday with 2 of my courses online. I ended yesterday with 5 of my courses online. Sales pages, circle, all done, videos transcribed, PDF download, book created, beautiful design, absolutely stellar copywriting, and just minor tweaks on my part, and that was it. And also the graphics, so and the logos, and so everything. And so what I'm saying with the ability that the AI has, people just don't know that it can do. Most people don't know that it's capable of doing that because the AI that they know is ChatGPT or Claude online, and it can't do it. That's not going to ever do that for you. But you unlock these kind of things, and you put these tools together. You let Benson work with Claude Code, and you let these little design kits that we have. So we're using these 3 skills that are free. You can grab them over here, and there's so much stuff there that's free right now that's amazing. And we put it together. And Brett, I'll send you after the podcast. I'll send you a VSL that I created without ever touching anything. My voice is from 11 Labs. The script was written by Isaac, my clone. The graphics were done with all the free tools. It didn't cost me anything except for the 11 Labs key, which cost me like $3.
You want to get started today. I was just working with Cloud this morning. I'm getting connected to my Gmail, connected to basically leaving chat behind. It served its purpose for, maybe it still will at some point, but right now I'm just kind of going all in on Cloud. And, but this is taking it to a whole nother level, which I love, and it's simplifying it. And it's not like you've done a lot of the work for us. This makes sense. And, what question haven't I asked so far that we should be asking? It's really. I'll just kind of pass it to you, John.
There is an existential fear of AI that on almost every conversation I get into that we have, I think that 2 questions I get asked the most often in regarding this topic is, number one, do I have to be a coder to understand this stuff? Because if you first time you look at Claude Code or heaven forbid, OpenClaw. Like if you look at something that's very sophisticated, it does a lot of like terminal work, and it just looks like a bunch of code. It's like no one would, very few people want to play with that. It's weird to see my friends who are not tech guys at all getting in there and doing this stuff now because they see what it does for their businesses. But I leave that behind, and I use interfaces like Slack. So I've got a way to do this in Slack. Slack is just like chatting with somebody, right? And I use Cursor a lot because I don't mind some of the code stuff. But so do you have to be a coder? No, but you do have to have the patience of Job, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. AI is best described as a petulant tween with an IQ of about 600. So if you think of it that way, it answers a lot of questions. It's like you'll say like, okay, here, I want you to commit something to your memory file and never do XYZ. Okay, I'll never do XYZ. 3 days later, you just did XYZ. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally made a mistake. I did XYZ. And so people will see that, and rightfully, they'll be afraid that, well, are you going to just drain my bank account? Are you going to give all my funds away to the name? Are you going to do crazy things like that? And there are definite locks on that to where that doesn't happen. But it will make mistakes like a human. It will disappoint you. It will frustrate you at times. It will absolutely do that. And part of what we built our community around, which if you go all the way with us, is called AI Collective. The collective is built around one thing, and that is coaching. Twice a month live, me and Josh Pellissier. And we say, okay, we're going to calm everyone down after we calm down. And we're going to say, here, this is how you make it work. It's going to be frustrating at first. It's going to be a little bit crazy at first. But then this magical thing happens. Then the very first time you go, wait, I started the day, I didn't have anything to sell. And I ended the day with something to sell that's online right now. How on earth did that just happen? That would have taken me, well, it would have taken you forever because you never would have done it. But let's say that you put aside all the time in the world to do it. It would have taken you weeks, maybe months to do that. Now you can do it in a day. So once you see that power is this is not mythos we're talking about. This is real. It's happening every single day. And we teach people how we do that, how we're doing it. You're watching camera literally over my shoulder is one of the most popular segments on our circle forum, is watching me just do this live and say, okay, here's what I'm doing today and here's how I'm doing it. So it's like, yeah, once you see people doing it, it gets a lot easier to do. So that's the number one, that's one question. The other one is, what about privacy? What about the AIs taking over the world and all that stuff, right? So there is an existential question about AI, of course. What is it, and what happens if things go awry, shall we say, right? Everybody's got what's called a P-doom number. That's the number, that the percentage that you think is going to the percentage of AI taking over humanity. And I think Elon Musk's P-doom was like 40% or something like that. It was pretty high. And so and I think he's dropped it down a little bit, but I don't even entertain those fears, because it's the same thing of like saying back in the 1930s, well, what happens if we split the atom? Well, we saw what happened when we split the atom. And we also saw what's happened since we split the atom. Like, look how much wonderful stuff has come out of the fact that we can split the atom. So that's kind of how I look at it. It's going to be a give and take. There's going to be very bad things. There's going to be very awesome things. But as far as a business owner is concerned, now I'm talking strictly to business guys right now. This is not an option. The biggest thing I could convey to anyone right now, this is not an option. This reminds me so much of when the internet first started, and I got it pretty quickly, right on. I probably within a year of it being, the World Wide Web, they used to call it, right? But I remember for years afterwards, when I owned the design firm, I would put website addresses on design on business cards, and people would say, "I'll just take that stuff off. No one will ever go there. No one will ever put their credit card into this." Was literally people saying this to me, like I can't even count how many times, right? Well, they were, as they say in science, they were so wrong they're not even wrong. They've exceeded wrong, So this is that times infinity. This is not a fad. This is not a chatbot. This is how this is the nature of where we're going as a species and as a business community. You need to learn what's going on here now, and it's not going to fire your entire team. But what it will do is if you empower your entire team with this, you can take your team from a 5 and turn them into a team of 50. And there's nothing that's ever happened like this in history that's been able to have this kind of power, shy of the Industrial Revolution. And even that, you got a lot of time and a lot of expense with this. AI again is your cheapest employee. If you go with what we suggest, and you go with us, you're looking at what, $400 or $500 a month tops to get somebody that works for you that will absolutely blow away any employee you have, including yourself sometimes, and frustrate you at times. but most of the time it's pretty fun. So that's my pitch for AI. I think it's much more
Sean,
fun.
I absolutely love it. By the way, Benson.ai, and uclone.ai to get started. John, let's shift a little bit. Part of our podcast, Build It to Billions, is so you can build it, but also when people exit, they have large capital gains taxes. Our company's Capital Gains Tax Solutions. I want to make it like I want to get kind of like take the seat. You're Tony Robbins on the stage, right? And you're calling out entrepreneurs, and I'm raising my hand. I'm like, John, help me out, right? Yeah. So we sell something that's high stakes. Typically people find it's 30, 60, 90 days before closing, number one. Number two, they're exiting their largest asset maybe in the history of exiting, right? It's $5, $10, $100 million company, and they're faced with this huge capital gains tax, basically a sledgehammer that's going to hit them. 20 to 50% of their gain going to be taxed. Also, estate tax challenges too. The other ones that they kind of missed, like, oh yeah, above certain amounts, I got to get outside my taxable estate. So we serve as that capital gains tax and estate tax exit Navy SEAL team to help you right when you exit. So I'm curious, the best way that you would think to be able to attract and convert and educate. Now, right now I feel like, we've done our podcast, we have our YouTube channel, we have our book. I do speak on stages, this and that. But even then I go like, wow, like the compounding effect, I feel like it would be so much higher at this point. We do serve a number of families, and we've had some success. But what about technical wealth, approach would you take for an entrepreneur like myself?
Okay, so what I would do, since this is a field I know nothing about, but this is where this whole clone thing comes in really handy. Okay, there's just Claude, just normal Claude, for example, right? Then there's what we're dealing with, which is Claude Code. Now, Claude Code is far more powerful, shall we say, than Claude. It's using different mechanisms, different trainings. It goes to different places. It looks up information for different places. So once you have your clone set up, I would go in there and say, now, understand that Claude is a desktop app, so it's a chatbot, and it's a really powerful one. It's very good. This is on your computer, and it knows what you tell it to know. So I would spend a couple of days setting this up and training it on all your financial models, on your previous customers, your past customers, and then once it's trained, it can be trained itself from that point on, right? So then you can say, based on all of your training of me and knowing what you know about me, combined with what you know about this industry, I want you to do deep search right now and find the most, what am I missing? And how am I going to find the clients that I really, really want? Spell it out for me. Do all the deep research that you need to do, but do it based on what you know about me and my offers and my product and my service and my temperament. Like, so the better trained that they are, which is again impossible for something like say ChatGPT. It doesn't matter how much stuff you put into a custom GPT, it'll never give you information like this. So my friend Rich Sheffrin, he's got these frameworks that just dig through. It'll go for all night digging through stuff. It'll find stuff and it'll come back and say, listen, I know you and you will never do this. You are just lazy when it comes to this. So forget this. Doesn't matter that it could work. You know, you'll never do this. You'll never do this. You will do this. The likelihood of you doing this, this, and this are really high because of your track record. And here's what I found about your track record. And he breaks it down to the finest nuances you can think of. Really, really, really clever guy. And that's how so it's not a prompt. It's the way that you think about the tool. So the tool becomes a partner. The tool becomes just another adjunct of yourself. But you're also saying, okay, what with what you know about me and what you know that I don't know, put the answer together.
Got it.
So that's what I would do.
I wrote this down. Okay. So I'm going to kind of say that slowly back for everyone else. And so maybe you try to apply it to yourself as well. Right. So you're going to, get with John Benson and his Benson AI and work through the clone, right? And then once you've established that, then you're going to take that into cloud and say, based upon what you know, combined with the industry and what I'm trying to accomplish, help me do you do the deep research and help to solve what most likely that I'm actually going to do, because there's certain things that I can tell you everything, but if it's not based upon your temperament and basically your track record, it's like 85% of all our habits are formed by the time we're 16 or 17, right?
Right.
And so it's harder to create new habits once you're past a certain age, which is kind of another parenting thing. Like I'm trying to get my kids to understand that, like, it's so much easier to get these habits right now before you're a certain age. And so that's the point. What's the likelihood of actually accomplishing this? And then let that do that. And then don't fight that and just do those things. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a very fair summary. And the one thing I would add to that is the you cloned environment that we suggest, that's not like that's not a software. That is a stack of tools that we use, and the stack of tools changes. So as this technology grows, the tools may change, but the approach isn't going to change. The mindset behind it is way more important than every little tool that you use. But so you're using tools to access essentially Claude Code, and for the copywriting stuff, it's Benson through what it's called the MCP server. So you connect Benson through Claude Code, and that will write the copy for you. But the copy that is the last thing on the list here. The first thing on the list is the research, and that's something that Claude Code can do, but you do it with your knowledge of your business added to it. And why I like that better than saying using Claude and saying I'm going to upload all my documents to Claude. Well, first of all, there's a limit. That's a public-facing interface, and obviously it's going to have a much smaller window for what you can put into that. Where Claude Code you can have your entire machine dedicated to this. You can have a vault that's very large, and it's going to know everything over time on this machine. And so people are right now are actually carrying this even further. They're taking their clones and buying separate machines for them so that the thing can run 24/7. I'm not suggesting someone has to do that. I don't even do that, but I know people that do. But what I'm saying is you can see that just the way I'm talking about that's way different than going to a Claude online, right? So, or chat. These are different approaches. And so I would start there. I really would. That's going to be your best business partner.
Amazing. And we're going to move to the lightning round here in a second. But for those of you who might be exiting a highly appreciated asset, I want to encourage you to go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get started building a plan, Bitcoin, business, real estate, multi-million dollars of gains. We can help you build a capital gains tax exit plan to defer that capital gains tax and then multiply your freedom and impact. Just go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I want to close that loop in case people are wondering what exactly that we do here. Okay, cool. Let's dive into the lightning round. You ready, John?
Yeah.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure to tell yourself to do?
I would say to love myself more than I try to love other people. So not in a selfish way, but in a nurturing, take care way. And I still suck at it today, but it's something that I've gotten a little better at it as I got a little older. But it's still something that would have saved me a lot of heartache and a heart attack at 38.
Love your neighbor and love yourself. Both of them are
Yeah,
equally
those
important.
are in the yeah in the same vicinity. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Question number two: what's the thing that you're most curious about right now?
actually the most curious I would have to lean toward the concept of consciousness and where we're going to go with machines and their level of consciousness, which is not obviously going to be human, but it's going to be something. It's going to be something weird, and where is that going to go? Where's that going to take us? That's kind of an interesting philosophical conversation.
Excellent. Number one book you've recommended the most in the past year.
The past year, Brothers Karamazov.
Excellent. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
We sell good things to good people.
Excellent. Um, Best way that you keep a mindset of stewardship over ownership.
That's a really good question. Two things. Number one is I keep in mind that I'm a naturally very driven person. So coming from a state of just growing up with that mindset and in sports, and I still compete in bodybuilding. I'm very driven. So it's like I'm pushing all the envelope and everything I can do. My wife is the one that takes me and will in a loving way calm me down and like it pull me back a little bit. And so if I keep in mind that what I'm doing isn't that I really do have a very clear picture. What I'm doing isn't just for me. This is what I'm doing is for a family, and it's for a legacy, it's for posterity, it's for others. And so that keeps the stewardship thing front and center for me. Because if you're doing this, if you're putting yourself out just for yourself, that's going to get very, for me, very, very boring, very, very fast. So if you're doing it and you're really doing it for the intention of serving and helping the people that you love and people that you don't love, maybe, but that you want to help, that changes the game, really.
I love it. How do you best stay ultra healthy and super disciplined?
Well, I be honest with you, it's easy. It's a lot easier when you have to step on a competitive stage once a year. It's the off season that's harder for me sometimes, but that's only been true this year. The other years have been pretty easy. So I'm a pretty regimented guy. It's a very straightforward way of approaching training and diet and stuff like that. And so I took horrific health issues that I had early on, from brain damage to nearly dying twice of a fever to heart attack in my 30s, really, really messed up genetics and some really bad health issues. And took that and said, well, I'm going to turn this into a sport. Like if I take this as I'm just going to try to stay healthy, I'll never do it. I know my mindset. I have to do it something like I have to do something that is a thing. So I became an athlete. So I shifted my mindset to become an athlete. And that mindset shift from going from I'm going to go catch a workout to I'm a bodybuilder or I'm a fitness athlete, that is a completely different way of labeling yourself in your mind. And when that changed, I went from scrawny to being able to compete on a stage with without standing next to guys that take, shall we say, lots of supplements. And so and that's okay. I don't mind getting beat by those guys, but standing up there and doing well and in improving yourself and overcoming things is the challenge that I wanted to live up to. So when you do that, you're kind of forced to eat in a somewhat healthy way. But then I also have a balanced approach where I embraced flexible dieting about 4 years ago. So I figured out a way to say, well, I can have the things that I want every day. There's nothing off limits. It's just all the limits come in calories and macros. So I'm in a window, and if I get this much protein and I'm staying in this caloric window, it doesn't really matter as much where the calories come from. And then you just do it based on how you want to feel.
So with that being said, peptides, blood work, whoop band, Aura ring, what kind of tools or hacks? Yeah, do you help with Aura? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so I've worn an Aura for I guess 6 years, 5 years since it came out.
Yep.
And I do blood work every 3 months. I give blood every 60 days, so that's ritualistic. But I've got a blood work kit down there that I've been putting off for a while, but my wife keeps asking me about it. But yeah, I tend to get blood work. I definitely get blood work much more frequently than most people because of the previous health conditions and checking everything, making sure everything is optimal as they can be. And peptides, I really got into 3 years ago and have really embraced the peptide revolution, shall we say. And BPC 157 has been one of my best friends for healing for sure, gut repair. I've had major gut issues That's not genetic. That's something I inflicted on myself, being stupid when I was in my 40s. So that was in my so that was just me being really dumb during a phase of my life where that I'm not particularly proud of. But that wrecked my stomach, and so I'm paying the price for that. But that was the only thing I think that I can blame that on. The rest of it's.
By the way, I use Whoop. Whoop is my choice there. It's helped me, track my. I mean, what gets tracked, you have accountability, and you have connection, and you have momentum, and. I sleep better, right? I know when days to rest. It helps me to get my steps in, right? I'm in my workouts, my different workouts, jiu-jitsu, basketball, and I feel great. And I started peptides about 45 days ago. Feel great, I feel the difference of BPC 157 is a big one for me too, and just helping with inflammation and recovery, and it's awesome. So amazing. Okay, we're way over time. Thank you for being so generous. I'll just wrap it up with this, John. When things get tough, right? How do you best stay encouraged to charge forward, to even reach even higher heights after all you've accomplished?
Oh man. So again, family balance, that's big for me, but it has to come internal. For me, it has to come internal. And so I never want to be, there's a quote that I loved in college that, I do not wish to save my body. I wish to be spent. So when I die, I want to be spent. And, so I kind of I don't know how much I really set in with moderation. I tend to be the Oscar Wilde that moderation is a fatal thing, right? So I lean more toward that and teeter on the edge of the creative obsessive type. And then what pulls me back is the hobbies that I've chosen. So if I've chosen to train and I have to do this, it does pull me back. Obviously, being in relationships pull you back, but when things go down that dark path, man, and they do frequently, in life, they do. People are going to have those days. For me, if you don't reframe things in a spirit of gratitude, then you're screwed. I mean, I have to back up and just look at everything that is good. Look at everything that we're coming out of this. And I'm getting to the point where I can do it a little faster than I used to. And how fast you do that, I think, is a good measuring stick for how happy you can be.
John Benson, I want to thank you for being on the show and the podcast and being part of the Build to Billions and Capital Gains Tax Solutions community. You dropped a ton of wisdom. You're so generous with your time here on Memorial Day. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts and talents to help people to embrace AI, embrace the ability for to maximize their calling with copywriting and productivity, and being entrepreneurs to grow their business, make a bigger impact for those that they're serving. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
If you want to see what I'm doing with the clone stuff, ucloned.ai is free. It gives you a free PDF download so you can see what I'm doing, the stacks I'm using, and basically the philosophy behind what I'm doing. And that can walk you through the ecosystem as well. Go to bensn.ai for the copywriting software. And I'm at johnbenson.com. I'm not too hard to find.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I also want to thank all of our listeners and viewers for being a part of the Build to Billions podcast, also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. Hey, we're on this journey with you to scale from millions to billions so we can get more all the way to help MVPs, the most vulnerable people. I'm Brett Swarts. Take action today. Get with John. And if you have a large exit, huge capital gains tax, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get started with us as well. Appreciate you listening and watching out there, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Bye now.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.